Most people think they have an income problem. They don't. They have an ego problem that is costing them 90% of their wealth potential. I analyzed a strategy used by thousands of people, some earning as little as $16,000 a year, who managed to retire as millionaires. It wasn't magic, and it wasn't crypto. They simply mastered 25 specific habits that the rest of us completely overlook. I'm Max, and I'm here to help you stop acting rich so you can actually get rich. Tip 1. The Zombie Subscription Purge. You might think you know exactly what you pay for monthly subscriptions, but streamflation has completely changed the game. The common misconception is telling yourself, it's just $10 here and there, surely I'm under $100. But you are wrong. With the massive price hikes in 2024 and the password sharing bans in 2025, updated data suggests the average digital bloat has now crossed $270 a month. That is over $3,000 a year, burning 20% of your entire $15,000 income just to be entertained. Here is the action. Perform a 3-second audit. Open your bank app right now. If you see a charge for a service you haven't used in 7 days, kill it immediately. When you are living on $16K, you do not get ad-free tiers. You watch the ads. And you keep your cash. Tip 2. Dodge the loyalty tax. This concept reveals a harsh truth. Companies punish you for staying with them too long. We are taught that loyalty is a virtue and that being a long-time customer earns you perks. But the reality, new customers get the best rates. Old customers get price hikes because companies count on you being too lazy to switch. Here is the action. Pick up the phone today. Call your internet or insurance provider and use this exact script. I'm looking at my monthly budget and this bill is too high. I see a competitor offering a lower rate. Can you match that? Or do I need to cancel my service today? The result. You will be shocked at how fast a manager approval discount appears when they think you're actually walking out the door. A simple 15-minute phone call can save you $20 to $50 a month. That is a week's worth of groceries just for making a call. Tip 3. The buffer defense. This concept is about gamifying your bank balance to avoid predatory fees. The biggest misconception is thinking, I can spend money as long as the app says I have money. But let's simulate what happens. You buy a $5 sandwich, but your account is actually empty. The bank approves the transaction, but then they charge you a $35 overdraft fee. Suddenly, that sandwich just cost you $40. This is the poor tax, and it is designed to keep you trapped. Here is the action. Create a psychological firewall. From now on, your balance is never zero. Mentally, your account is empty when you hit $50. That $50 is your buffer defense. You never touch it. It sits there solely to absorb a miscalculation, so you never pay a bank fee for being broke again. Tip 4. Unlink your cards. Apps like Amazon and Klarna are engineered to remove the pain of paying. They make spending money feel like absolutely nothing. The misconception is thinking that one-click buying saves me time, or that Pay in 4 helps me budget. But let's simulate the reality. These are traps. Splitting a $40 pizza into 4 payments isn't budgeting, it is drowning. And those one-click buy buttons are designed to bypass your brain's decision-making process entirely. Here is the action you need to create friction. First, delete the BNPL apps like Klarna and Affirm immediately. Second, unlink your credit cards from Amazon and Uber. Force yourself to physically stand up. Find your wallet, and type in those 16 digits manually. The result, that 60 seconds of annoyance is usually just enough time for your rational brain to kick in and say, wait, we can't actually afford this. If you want to stop the bleeding and actually start building stability, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We've plugged the holes in the bucket. But now we have to talk about the 2 biggest expenses that physically drain your wallet every day: the food in your stomach and the gas in your tank. Tip 5. The unit price rule. Stores manipulate you by changing package sizes. They know you want to spend less today, so they make smaller packages look like a deal. You fall for the misconception the smaller jar costs $3 and the big jar costs $5. The small jar is cheaper. But let's look closer. That small jar might cost you 25 cents per ounce, while the big jar is only 12 cents per ounce. By buying the cheaper small jar, you are literally paying double for the actual food. You are paying a premium for the packaging, not the product. Here is the action: ignore the big price tag. Look at the tiny number on the shelf tag, usually highlighted in orange or yellow. That is the unit price. When you live on $16K, you cannot afford to pay for convenience. You only buy the lowest unit price. Tip 6. The Pantry Challenge. This strategy is about forcing yourself to consume your inventory before you even think about restocking. We all have that moment. You open your cupboard, see a box of pasta, a can of beans, and some frozen vegetables. And you say, I have nothing to eat. Then, you head to the drive-thru. But here is the simulation. The reality is you probably have $200 worth of calories sitting in your house right now. You just don't want to eat them because they aren't exciting. So here is the action. Declare a pantry challenge. For the next 7 days, you are banned from the grocery store. You must get creative. Make a stir-fry with that frozen bag from 2022. Use that box of rice. The result: it forces you to clear out waste, but more importantly, it keeps your grocery bill at exactly $0 for an entire week. That is pure profit. Tip 7. Generic chemical equivalents. This concept is about shifting your mindset from buying brands to buying molecules. We are often tricked by the misconception that name brand medicine works better, or that name brand cereal tastes safer. But let's simulate reality. Turn the bottle around. If the name brand painkiller says ibuprofen 200 milliliters and costs $12, and the store brand like Great Value or Kirkland says ibuprofen 200 milliliters but costs only $4, they are chemically identical. In fact, they are often made in the exact same factory. Here is the action. Stop paying for their Super Bowl commercials. If the ingredients are the same, you buy the generic. You get the exact same relief for 30% of the price. Tip 8. Trip chaining. This strategy is about treating your car like a logistics business to save fuel. We all fall for the misconception it's just a quick run to the store. It won't use much gas. But here is the reality simulation. A cold engine uses significantly more fuel than a warm one. Plus, every time you start your car, you are adding wear and tear. Doing random, single trips: grocery store on Tuesday, bank on Wednesday, friend's house on Thursday is literally burning money. Here is the action: batch your life. Do not leave your driveway unless you have 3 things to do in a single loop. Leave work, hit the grocery store, stop at the post office, and go home. The result: you keep the engine warm, you save gas, and you save time. Over a year, this habit alone can save you a full tank of gas every single month. Speaking of bills, most people think their housing costs are fixed. They think, well, rent is rent, and the lights cost what the lights cost. They are wrong. There is a way to slash your housing costs drastically, and there is a switch on your wall right now that is stealing from you while you sleep. Tip 9. Kill vampire power. This concept is about eliminating phantom load, the electricity that devices suck from the wall even when they are turned off. You probably think, I turned the TV off, so it's not using any electricity. But look around your room right now. Do you see the little red light on the TV? The glowing microwave clock, the laptop charger plugged in with no laptop attached, according to the Department of Energy. These vampires can account for up to 10% of your monthly electric bill. If your bill is $100, you are literally throwing $10 in the trash every month for devices you aren't using. Here is the action. Get a power strip. Plug your entertainment center and computer setup into it. When you leave for work or go to bed, flip the switch on the strip. Kill the vampires instantly. Tip 10. Thermostat Discipline. This tip is about widening your temperature comfort zone to shrink your bills. We hold on to this misconception that says, I need my apartment to be exactly 72 degrees just to survive. But let's do a timeline shock. Did you know that adjusting your thermostat by just 7 to 10 degrees for 8 hours a day can save you up to 10% a year on heating and cooling? It's simple math. A fan costs pennies to run, while an AC unit costs dollars. Here is the action if it's winter. Put on a sweater and drop the heat to 68. If it's summer, turn on a fan and raise the AC to 78. When you live on a low income, your comfort zone has to expand so your wallet doesn't shrink. Tip 11. The Roommate Protocol. Let's look at the 2026 rent data. Living alone on $16K is a fantasy. It is mathematically impossible. Unless you are living in a van, having a roommate is no longer a lifestyle choice. It is a mandatory survival requirement. Splitting a studio apartment instantly gives you a $600 to $800 a month raise. That is the difference between eating and starving. Swallow your pride. Get a roommate. You can have your privacy back when you double your income. Tip 12. DIY or die. This strategy is about trading your labor for cash savings on repairs. The most expensive misconception you can have is telling yourself, I'm not handy. If the sink clogs, I need to call a plumber. But let's look at the math. A plumber costs $150 just to walk in the door. A bottle of drain cleaner and a simple snake tool cost $15. If you call the pro, you just worked 2 full days of your life to pay for a 20-minute job. Here is the action. Welcome to YouTube University. Before you call anyone, search how to fix problem on YouTube. Almost any basic home repair can be learned in 10 minutes. You need to build the habit of asking, can I fix this myself first? Tip 13. The 4 walls. Priority. This concept establishes a ruthless hierarchy of who gets paid when money is tight. The most dangerous misconception is thinking, the credit card company is calling me 5 times a day, so I have to pay them first just to make them stop. But let's simulate the consequences. If you pay the credit card but miss rent, you get evicted. If you pay the student loan but miss the electric bill, you sit in the dark. The credit card company cannot evict you. Your landlord can. Here is the action. You must adopt what Dave Ramsey calls the 4 walls. You pay these 4 things before anything else: food, utilities, shelter, and transportation. Everything else waits. Secure your survival first. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Being broke is lonely. You see your friends going out for drinks, taking trips, and posting brunch photos on Instagram, and you feel left out. You feel the FOMO. But trying to keep up with them is exactly what keeps you broke. Here is the conversation that will save your friendships without destroying your bank account. Tip 14. The friends tax conversation. This strategy is about social engineering your friend group to change your default activity from spending to connecting. The biggest misconception holding you back is the fear that if you tell your friends you can't afford to go out, they will judge you or stop inviting you. But let's simulate the reality. Most of your friends are likely broke too. They are just waiting for someone else to say it first. When you drop $50 at a bar just to stand next to your friends, you are paying a friends tax. You do not need to pay a tax just to talk to the people you love. So, be the leader. Send this text to your group chat. Hey guys, I'm locking down my budget this month to hit some goals. Instead of the bar, come over for a game night or potluck, BYOB. The result, you save $50. Your friends save $50. And you actually get to talk to each other instead of shouting over loud music. Tip 15. The third place strategy. This strategy is about reclaiming public assets to escape your cramped apartment. The common misconception is thinking, If I want to get out of the house, I have to go to Starbucks or the movies. But that is wrong. You simply need a third place somewhere that isn't work and isn't home. For rich people, this is a country club. For you, it is the public library or the park. Here is the action: stop thinking of the library as a dusty room for old books. Modern libraries have free high-speed Wi-Fi, air conditioning, co-working spaces, and even 3D printers. It is a free office. It is a free living room. The result, you get a total change of scenery and high-speed internet for exactly $0 versus buying that $7 latte or a $20 movie ticket. Tip 16. The no-spend weekend. Think of this as a gamified fast for your wallet. The common misconception is that if you don't spend money on a Saturday night, you will be bored and miserable. But the reality is that boredom is actually good for you. It breeds creativity. When you remove the option to buy entertainment, you are forced to find it. Here is the action: commit to a 48-hour period from Friday night to Monday morning where you spend exactly $100. You eat what is already in the fridge. You walk in the park. You finally read that book you bought 3 years ago. The result, you wake up Monday morning feeling accomplished and refreshed, and you just kept $100 to $200 right where it belongs in your pocket. Tip 17. Local staycations. This concept is about getting the relaxation of a vacation without paying the travel tax. We are brainwashed into the misconception that says, I need to buy a plane ticket to relax. But let's simulate the reality. Travel is stressful. Airports are expensive. Hotels are overpriced. Often, we travel thousands of miles just to ignore the beauty right next door. Here is the action: become a tourist in your own city. Open Google Maps right now and look for state parks, free museums, or hiking trails within 30 miles of your house. Pack a lunch. Go explore. The result, you get the nature, the fresh air, and the break from work. But you sleep in your own bed and you pay exactly $0. You have cut costs. You have secured your housing. You have saved your social life. But be careful. There is a trap called being cheap. Sometimes, trying to save $1 today will cost you thousands of dollars tomorrow. If you don't know the difference between frugal and cheap, you are about to walk into a financial disaster. Tip 18. Preventive maintenance. The anti-poverty tax. This concept is about spending a small amount now to prevent a catastrophic expense later. The most dangerous misconception is thinking, I don't have the money for an oil change right now, or I can't afford to go to the dentist. But listen, this is false math. An oil change costs $50. A seized engine costs $5,000. A dental cleaning costs $100. A root canal costs $2,000. If you ignore the maintenance, you are guaranteeing a financial disaster that will eventually bankrupt you. Here is the action: you must prioritize maintenance. Scrape the money together. Sell something if you have to. Fix the small leak before it becomes a flooded apartment. The result: you avoid the $5,000 emergencies that keep people poor forever. Tip 19. The used default. This strategy is about letting someone else pay for the depreciation. There is a huge misconception that used items are dirty, broken, or just for poor people. But look at the math. A new couch loses 50% of its value the second it leaves the store. A new car loses 20% the moment you drive it off the lot. When you buy new, you are voluntarily paying a vanity tax. Here is the action: make used your default setting. Need a toaster? Check Goodwill. Need a winter coat? Check Poshmark. Need furniture? Scour Facebook Marketplace. The result is that you get high-quality items for pennies on the dollar. You look just as good, but your bank account stays full. Tip 20. Cash discounts. This strategy leverages the hidden costs every business pays to process your payments. We are trained to believe that the price on the sticker is the law that you can't negotiate. But here is the reality: every time you swipe a credit card, That small business owner pays about 3% in fees to the bank. They hate it. They want cash. So for services like mechanics, landscapers, or local shops, start carrying cash. Then ask this simple question: if I pay in cash right now, can you knock off the tax or give me a discount? You will be surprised how often they say yes. Saving 5% to 10% just for stopping at the ATM is an incredible return on investment. Tip 21. Sell the clutter. This tip is about turning your static junk into liquid cash. We all tell ourselves the same lie: I might need this snowboard someday, even though you haven't touched it in 4 years. Look around your room right now. Do you see clothes you don't wear, electronics you don't use? That isn't just stuff. That is literal dollar bills sitting on your floor gathering dust. Here is the action plan. Apply the 1-year rule. If you haven't touched an item in 365 days, it must go. Take a photo and list it on Facebook Marketplace or eBay tonight. The result is magic. You clear your mind, you clear your space, and you suddenly have a $500 emergency fund you didn't know existed. We have plugged the leaks. We have slashed the bills. We have learned how to spend smart. But let's be honest. You can't coupon your way to $1 million. You can't budget your way out of a $16,000 income forever. At some point, you hit a floor. You can't cut anymore. The final step isn't about saving. It's about escaping. It is time to talk about the exit strategy. Living on $16K is a season, not a life sentence. You have done the hard work. You've cut the bleeding. But you cannot stay here. Inflation will eventually eat you alive if you don't move up. Here is your exit strategy. Tip 22. Zero-based budgeting. This strategy is about giving every single dollar a job before the month even begins. Now, the biggest misconception people have is that budgeting is restrictive, that it stops you from living. That is completely wrong. A budget is actually permission to spend. Without a plan, you wake up wondering where your money went. With a plan, you tell it exactly where to go. So here is the action. Write your total income at the top of a page. Subtract every single expense until you hit exactly $0. If you have even $5 left over, give it a name. Put it towards savings, debt, or food. No dollar is allowed to be unemployed. The result: you will suddenly find money you didn't know you had. You regain control. You stop being a victim of your bank account and become the architect of it. Tip 23. The debt snowball. This strategy is about using psychology to crush your debt momentum. Now, there is a huge misconception here. Smart people will tell you, you should pay the loan with the highest interest rate first because that is what the math says. They are wrong. Math doesn't pay off debt. Behavior does. To get out of this hole, you don't need a calculator. You need a win. You need to feel like you are winning. Here is the action plan. List every single debt you have from the smallest balance to the largest balance. Ignore the interest rates completely. Pay minimum payments on everything. But attack that smallest debt with absolute fury. Sell the clutter. Eat the beans. Do whatever it takes to kill it. Why? Because when that first debt disappears, you feel a massive rush of dopamine. You feel powerful. You take the money you were paying on the first one and roll it into the next one. The snowball grows. And suddenly, you become unstoppable. Tip 24. Upskilling. The shovel. Stop saying you can't afford to go back to school. We live in the AI era. You have the world's smartest professor in your pocket for free. You don't need a degree. You need a skill. Ask ChatGPT to build you a 4-week curriculum to learn Python, copywriting, or bookkeeping. Ask it to simulate job interviews with you. Ask it to correct your code. There is zero excuse for staying at a $16K unskilled job when the teacher is free and available 24/7. Use the tools to dig yourself out. Tip 25. Future visualization, finally. We have to hack your identity to kill impulse spending at the root. The most dangerous lie you can tell yourself is, I'm just a broke person. This is just how it is. That belief is a trap. If you believe you are poor, you will continue to make poor decisions. You will subconsciously self-sabotage just to prove yourself right. So here is the action. Close your eyes. I want you to visualize yourself completely debt-free with $10,000 sitting in the bank. How does that version of you walk? How do they talk? How do they handle stress from now on? Every time you are tempted to swipe your card for that $5 coffee, ask yourself one simple question: would the future me buy this? The answer is usually no. You have the tools. You have the map. The only variable left is you.